Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself. And this video is a response to a little request that I put out because I gave a little update on Ivanka Trump and that video that I did, which was that has some brilliant responses. I'm still trying to kind of read through them all because I think it was a few hundred in the end, kind of like with some of the other videos, and I clarified some points and stuff like that, which was about Venus in the first house, beauty, etc. And a lot of you pointed out that Madame Ivanka has had a lot of surgery. Now, this doesn't surprise me because I did think it does look a little bit too polished. But of course, I'm here in the UK, so I don't know that much about her life. But just to clarify a point, of course, like what people say, external beauty does not necessarily mean internal beauty, and so that will remain to be seen. And also as well, just in comment as well about what's it called, Ivanka's Madame Madame Ivanka, in terms of like her psychic abilities. Yes, she does have psychic abilities, but just because someone's psychic, it doesn't mean they use their gifts necessarily for good. So I just wanted to say that again without kind of, you know, getting too complicated about things, particularly as this is a public platform. And again, I would just like to say this is for entertainment purposes only. These are my speculations based on astrology, and you can people can take it or leave it there. Right, now let's talk about what this video really is about. So I read through the comments, so after that, and I put in a request, didn't I, for who I should do next. And one of the ones that leapt out immediately was Mitch McConnell. So this video is about him. But really, you know, when I actually look at his chart, I mean, if I was to give him a nickname, really what I would call him would be Mitch McConman. Yeah? This guy. Oh my goodness. So do you remember how I was saying it would go from bad to batshit? Yeah, we remember that comment. And look at what has happened since. This is bonkers. This is absolutely crazy what is going on. We've seen all sorts of politics being played with this stimulus package. You know, it was all set and ready, you know, at $600, which really was a measly amount, but at least agreed by everyone. Let me just have a little slurp. A little bit of juice. But at least it was agreed by everyone. Then we have Duck L'Orange do his little stunt where he kind of carted himself off to Florida to play golf in the middle of a pandemic, as you do. And then, of course, he sat on that thing, didn't sign it, and then was basically put that whole kind of, what's it called, the whole military budget thing, wanted to veto that, and now that's been sort of like effectively sort of overridden. But he then at the last minute said that stimulus package should be $2,000 instead of $600 for ordinary people. Now that is the right thing, obviously. You know, obviously that is absolutely the right thing, and that is what the Democrats were arguing about from the beginning. Now, you know, Trumpy Trump, or shall we say, you know, Duck L'Orange, as we know, this guy, if anything, he's what? A drama queen, yeah? Absolute drama queen. All of this stuff could have just been hammered out ages ago. He could have said, this is what I want, $2,000, but of course, he needs to do his thing. But as they say, better late than never when it comes to this respect, because irrespective of what the reasons are for why he's doing this, which is basically to make power plays and have attention, it still stands. $600, of course, is not enough, and it should be $2,000. So, of course, now this falls down to Mitch McConnell. And we've seen what he's done, which is that he's like, okay, you can have the $2,000, but I've got these other things as well. So there's that stuff in there about social media and their accountability. What has that got to do with anyone's survival package or stimulus? You know, people are struggling to pay rent and have food on the table, and they put these absurdities in. But then also as well, there's something as well about it being tied to there being a commission into voter fraud, which we all know is BS. You know, it's over. We you know, even some, you know, quite a lot of the Republicans are now admitting this. So this is really an extraordinary time, and this is so weird, and these Americans' lives are being played with. And unfortunately, as we've seen playing out, as I said in earlier videos, Pluto comes into the second house of the USA chart on the 1st of January. Yeah, and Pluto is what? Death, rebirth, and restructuring. Yeah, but it's like the dark night of the soul. Saturn, which is effectively the planet of lockdown, is immensely powerful at the moment, and his season is winter. He actually helps bring the cold. So actually there's going to be a lot of cold snaps, which I think we can see brewing up already. But this could actually turn out to be just, we could have quite a few quite cold winters because he's powerful. But at least it will sort of help the northern peoples who are running out of ice, maybe, if not gain some back, at least maybe there's just some kind of respite. But we're going to see a lot of things to do with like blizzards and cold weather phenomena and stuff like that all around the world. Yeah, just slightly lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so with Saturn, yes, he's planet of restriction, etc. and stuff like that. But Pluto, they say Pluto is like having open heart surgery without the anesthetic. So we are literally seeing America opened up. And what Pluto is doing is he is dredging up pretty much all the ugliness for everyone to see. And we can see where that ugliness is happening because of what is going on in Congress, you know, at the moment. And it's just really saddening because we can see what the problem is. We've got people who are just playing power games, and they're playing power games with what? Second house issues, where Pluto again is about to go into that second house. What are issues of the second house? Food, money, values, yeah, all sorts of stuff, and things to do with the voice and how we communicate, etc. But those are those three core things, and we're seeing it's coming to this to a head. And there's much kind of chitter and backwards and forwards, isn't there? Like, oh, we'll be going to New Year's Day and, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we see these shenanigans being played literally with people's livelihoods. You've had Trump throwing his thing at the last minute saying he wants that stimulus package increased. Fair enough. Could have done, like we said, months ago. But rapidly voted through by the Democrats and some Republicans. I think it was 46 of them, but it was in the 40s. And then that was raised as a separate ticket, which could have just been voted on. It's just a straight, like they said, a straight up or down. But then Mitch McConnell, this guy who basically looks like a combination of a turtle and the leftovers of a Thanksgiving turkey dinner. you know, I mean, that might be harsh, but this is, you know, it's just despicable. It's just despicable behavior. Anyway, I want to give you some insight. And again, I'm going to try and keep this video. Let's see if I can keep it to half an hour. I might fail, but what have you. Anyway, let's go in here and let's explore what is going on. So, Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell. Oh, goodness, I forgot to write his birthday. Oh no, here we are. So Mitch McConnell was born on the 20th of February 1942 in Sheffield, Alabama, USA, you know. And of course we know that he's the senator for Kentucky, and actually one of the longest serving senators ever as the Republican leader of the House, of the US Senate rather. Let me just slurp here. Now, what's interesting is, as can often be quite the case, like with Ivanka, there's no official birth time. But again, because he is incredibly successful on one level and has tremendous influence and power, particularly in government, what I've done is I have just chosen the default time that most astrologers do when the birth date is not known, but particularly when the person is successful, which is 12 midday, because it puts the sun in a high place. And Saturn represents the government, but so does the sun. So let's see where it falls. So if we give Mitch McConnell, you know, turtle face. If we give turtle face this time of 12 midday, we see here, surprise, surprise, the sun falls into the 10th house. Now, what is the 10th house about? The 10th house is about our public dharma, public service, yeah, in some way. It's also known as the house of pressure. This is why the sun does well there, because the sun is a malefic. It's a mild malefic, but it's a malefic nonetheless. But it does show where we're building our kingdom on earth. It shows what we're trying to do with our divine spark. So what I've done is I've made these two charts equal here. So we've got the D1, which any of you who've been watching my videos for a little while will know this is the main charts, yeah, the main charts, the Rashi charts. And then we have the D9, which refers to the second half of life chart. So the D1 is from basically 0 up until about 36, 37 years. And then the D9, the Navamsha chart, is essentially from 40 years and beyond. That's when it really kicks in. So when we were talking about Ivanka, she's just coming into her Navamsha chart. And as I said in my previous video, her Navamsha chart is not nearly as good as her main chart. Quite a lot of that fruit is basically withered, yeah? I mean, she'll get some results out of it, but it's not a shining second half. So here we can see the life, essentially, of Mitch McConnell, yeah? So with Mr. Mitch McConnell, what's going on? First of all, if the time of 12 o'clock midday is correct for him, this gives him a Taurus ascendant. Now, Taurus is a lovely ascendant, you know. In fact, all the ascendants have their own virtues and stuff like that. But Taurus is a sign very much associated with the second house. Why? Because it's the second sign of the zodiac. And remember before what I was talking about, those issues that the USA has with the second house. Isn't it interesting that his ascendant falls into Taurus, the second sign, which deals with mainly what? Money, food, resources. Very interesting. And straight off what we see here, we see Jupiter and we see Uranus in the first house. So straight off the bat, the first house represents you, your personality, how you come across. So what is Jupiter? Jupiter is what? The guru, the leader, yeah? The Jupiter is also a grand advisor as well. Jupiter deals also as well with things like the law and also politics. Isn't that interesting? It also deals with politics. I mean, there's many different things, but there's a lot. Religion, organized religion, politics, and spirituality and stuff like that. So on one level, you could say, oh, that's quite interesting. How does that spirituality? Where's that spirituality for Mitch McConnell? Well, what we need to remember here is that this Jupiter is in an enemy sign. Jupiter here is in an enemy camp. And what this means is this changes that nature of Jupiter, because remember, every planet has to obey the house that it's in, but also as well the sign. So Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and she is considered an enemy to Jupiter. Why? Why would Venus be an enemy? And what is that they have different styles. There are three gurus. We've got Saturn, we've got Jupiter, and we've got Venus. All planets are gurus, really, but these are like the main ones. Saturn is the guru that teaches us via our hardships in life, or just the realities of life. He's about realities. This is why people that are more prudent and more pragmatic and more realistic about life tend to be a lot happier, yeah, because they don't have inflated expectations about things. Venus is a guru because she is what? She's the indicator, the karaka of what? Marriage and relationships of all kinds, including business. So what is it? We need to understand, you know, about money, about business, about dealing with people, about compromise, yeah? The reality of relationships, what we need to do to get by. And then Jupiter is what? It's the highest ideals, very expansive. You know, it's about beliefs, and it's about, you know, religion. It's about philosophy. It's about the law. It's about politics, yeah? An expansion of all kinds. And it's also the indicator of wealth and children and other stuff like this. So Jupiter is known as a great benefic, but every planet has its shadow. So what happens here is that when Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus, it means that Venus becomes the dispositor, yeah? Venus becomes the dispositor, which means Venus is describing the soul of the planet in some way, yeah? So Taurus is a very earthly sign, earthbound. Jupiter is supposed to be about, his element is ether. So here we see a planet of ether who's supposed to be about the highest ideals and all of this kind of stuff, you know, real shisha pipe stuff and benevolence and all of this kind of stuff. Is this ether is now become very earthbound, very literal, very realistic, but very materialistic as well, because Rohini is the most materialistic out of all of the signs in terms of like the nakshatras, the moon clusters, the moon lunar mansions. So this is the most earthbound and money-loving part of Taurus. Now that's not wrong in of itself, you know, because we all need lovely stuff, money, luxuries, etc. But when you find Jupiter here, it says, what it suggests is that the highest ideals, Jupiter, are connected somehow with what? Money. And then you need to see, where does Venus go? Who is the dispositor for this planet? Venus then goes here to the 9th house. Now the 9th house is a great house, yeah? And it's known as the house of the highest dharma, and it can deal a lot with luck and, you know, stuff like that. But as I said before, the 9th house is what? Publishing. The 9th house is the father. Again, it's the highest ideals. It's relative again to the sign Sagittarius, which belongs to what? Jupiter. So, and it's also about publishing, like I said, and it's also about ideals, values, highest values and concepts, but it also deals with politics. Yeah, like I said, politics. Look where Venus goes. There she is in the 9th house of politics with Mercury, which is the planet of what? Communication. And it's in the sign of Capricorn. What does Capricorn deal with? As you know from my other videos, it deals with large companies and organizations and distribution systems of all kinds. It's very, very corporate. And it also deals with government. So the dispositor for this idealistic Jupiter actually is expressing its ideals via big business and government. And it's there with her friend Mercury. This is in his first half of life chart. So even though we're going to talk about the D9, this chart is always relevant because it is the main chart after all. So we see here the values move over here. And also as well, Capricorn is also another sign of status and money, because all the earth signs are about what? Like, it's like with tarot, they're the pentacle cards. They deal with money, realistic things, food, tangible assets, etc. So we've got Jupiter here in the money sign in the most materialistic section, which is called Rohini. And then over here, we've got Venus and Mercury in Capricorn, also a sign which deals with what? Money as well, but also as well hierarchy and status and systems. Capricorn, the energy of Capricorn, like I said before, it's like being the crystal at the top. Yeah. So we see here this Jupiter planet is actually quite compromised, really. Do you know what I mean? It just can't fulfill its highest ideals in this particular position. It doesn't mean that other people that have Jupiter in Taurus in their first house are like Mitch McConnell, no. But it does mean that the material side of life is more important. It can also indicate a financier, a banker, especially someone in banking and finance, because they have that instinctive understanding of money. Here too, we see in the first house planet Uranus in Mitch McConnell's chart. And what is that? And it's in the Nakshatra Kritika, which means to slice, means to cut things, makes someone very bright, but they've got a very slicing, incisive mind. Now that has its uses, doesn't it? That has its uses. And again, here, this shows the practical. This is the practical side of Taurus that just basically, one second. This is the practical side of Taurus that likes to get to the point and is very clear and very focused and very delineated and just calmly does their work, yeah? They chop their tasks into smaller chunks and they just go like that, yeah? Again, very practical. But Uranus is the planet of eccentricity and a maverick and someone who can be a little bit it's just, do you know what I mean? Depending on the sign, because if this Uranus were in maybe like an air sign, like Aquarius or Libra or Gemini, that makes a person exceptionally brilliant. Yeah, exceptionally brilliant. Here, there is this kind of brilliance, but again, this is not the best place for Uranus because it's here in this Earth sign. So this is the planet of breaking out, liberating things, being innovative about things, wanting to be free, yeah, and to move really well. Here, when it's in the sign of Taurus, it can't be as altruistic. It becomes what? More materialistic. So we see again, there's this connection there with money. But this can also mean money by electronic means, or electronic means, and electronic distribution systems. Yeah. So if you think about what is going on right now, with what? The stimulus checks. That's about what? Putting money in people's bank accounts, like electronically or, via the post or, what have you. But either way, it suggests this kind of quite radical an unsettling aspect when it comes to money and finances. And considering his position and influence, we're seeing that right now, these what? Shocks and surprises, these upheavals around what? Money for the American people, because we see what this guy is a bit unpredictable. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't always necessarily do what you think is the logical thing to do, but he has his own logic. But the shadow of this combination, what I've put here, is greed. The shadow of Jupiter is greed. And the vulnerability when Jupiter comes into, particularly the sign of Taurus, or can be the earth signs in general, but particularly in Rohini, because it is that sign of, it's a sign of creativity, but it is materialistic. It does love those finer things in life, which is not a bad thing. But when you consider his prominence in the government to have this very materialistic streak, it shows really, and he's the leader, it shows it's about what? It's all about the money. Because isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? Because when we look around further, when we look at Mitch McConnell's 5th house, which is the house of creativity, the intelligence and the ideas, yeah, we see here planet Neptune. Remember him? Particularly in regards to Duc L'Orange. What is so interesting is that he has his Neptune in the same place as Duc L'Orange. So if we go here, where's Duc L'Orange? Oh, this is Ivanka Trump. 1 minute. Donald. Where's Donald? Got so many charts now. Oh, God, what's this? That's the inauguration chart. Ah, here we are. Donald Trump's chart. Here we go. Neptune. Yeah. And again, and Donald Trump's Neptune is conjunct the USA chart. Neptune, which is conjunct Saturn, and I've already explained this is in the 10th house and it's in the sign of Virgo. So 10th house is also corporate entities, yeah? So we can see huge corporate entities. Neptune deals with what? Drugs. As I said before, drugs and liquids of all kinds, yeah? Interesting that, isn't it? So corporate drug entities of huge kinds that make huge impacts. What? Liquid drugs, because look, it's also in the sign of Virgo, which is what? Healing. So we've got these big, like I said, this is big pharma. We literally see it happening right now. But this is also big companies in general. So it shows that there's some kind of mystery, there's some kind of advantage, some kind of sleight of hand in a way that corporate entities have in America. And this is what we've been finding. Like the top companies hardly pay any tax. And Mitch McConnell, his Neptune falls into the same place. There it is in Virgo. It's at 6 degrees, 10 minutes. So it means he has this kind of strange connection with Donald Trump, although Donald Trump's got his Jupiter there as well. Mitch has got it here on his own, but it also means that his Neptune lines up with corporate America. So isn't it interesting? And as Republicans have gone, let alone Democrats, Republicans have gone on to say on the TV, isn't it interesting that they can pass trillions of dollars of tax breaks for what? Big companies, because the 5th house is also known as the planet of speculation, but also as well of advisors, giving advice to people. So we see there's a Neptunian quality there, which is like, can we really trust that advice? Who is benefiting from that advice? The corporate world, because his Neptune falls right on top of the corporate world, or the corporate section of the USA chart. So he's for who? The money guys, yeah? Because his Jupiter, his philosophy, his ideas about the world is for what? The money guys, particularly the ones that are very innovative, Yeah, you see here, Uranus, very innovative and can earn multiple streams of income via electronic means. Because Uranus is what? Planet of electricity. So isn't it interesting that when it came simply to doing the right thing, there could have just been a straight vote up or down, as they said, on this extra stimulus package, actually just giving ordinary Americans $2,000, a month. Yet that is a problem. And it has these caveats attached to it. But at the same time, the Republicans have got no problem at all passing huge, vast tax cuts for corporate America. Isn't that interesting? Because look, the dispositor, Venus, is in the sign of Capricorn, which is actually a good sign for Venus and for Mercury, because they're both friends of Saturn. But it is very much about business. These two, particularly when they're combined, and as people will know, I've said this before, but also as well when I see it in my clients' charts, Venus with Mercury is a very good combination. It's very good for business. But you see here as well, I've got this little RX looking thing, and that means retrograde. So I put here, so basically when Mitch McConnell started out in politics, he was actually probably really quite idealistic. Yeah, with this dreamy combination in the 9th house. But it's retrograde. It shows that there was some shadow to it. There's something hidden underneath the surface. It wasn't straightforward. Yeah, the energy wasn't being expressed in a forthright way. So this can show back dealings. But let's look here. So where does the Lord of the 9th go? So here we see here. So this is the 9th house. This is the 10th house. Capricorn, Aquarius. Yeah. So we see here the sun, which is what? The building the kingdom. Building some public, this is public service. 10th house, the sun is in public service. So building some kind of kingdom in public service, or the government. Yeah, so we can see here, this time must be right. It must be very close. But we also see here Ketu. Ketu is known as the planet of losses, and it's actually in Mitch McConnell's chart, it's in PURVA BHADRAPADHA. Now you remember what I said about PURVA BHADRAPADHA? PURVA BHADRAPADHA is the front legs of the funeral cot. Yeah, it has a lot to do with death. He has got Ketu, planet of losses, yeah, who spiritualizes via loss. He's what is known as the moksha karka, is the funeral cot, which is actually where transiting Neptune is currently in the USA chart. So what, causing a lot of death. So Mitch McConnell is what? Mitch McConnell is causing what? A lot of suffering. He could have just passed the bill, and what is he doing? Playing games. Now why? We need to go here. We need to go to the 12th house. Now, in his main chart, what? The 12th house. What is the 12th house? The 12th house in its higher form can be very spiritual, as I've said before, and as my clients know, very spiritual. And it can deal with overseas, foreign lands, etc., and all that kind of stuff. However, on the shadow side, it deals with what? Prisons. It deals with asylums. It deals with poor health. But it also primarily deals with secrets and confusion when it's working on the negative side. So what do we see here? We need to see the condition. Who's in that house? And we see a stellium here. 1, 2, 3 planets. Moon, which is the mind and the emotions and how we instinctively respond. The most sensitive planet in the chart. A lot, Mercury as well adapts to who he's with, but the moon is very sensitive. She always takes on the characteristics and the energy of who she's with and who is looking at her. So this moon, these emotions are being affected by who? Suddenly we see 2 malefics. 2. This means this moon is now also malefic. And if we see here, this is Mars. Now Mars is in its own sign, so it's very powerful, but it's in the Nakshatra Kritika again, which is again what? Slicing, yeah? Can be quite harsh. This slicing, dicing. But there we see, look, Saturn in there. But whenever you see Saturn in Aries, there's a problem. Virtually guarantee it, because this Saturn, unfortunately, is debilitated. It's debilitated, which means that Saturn, when Saturn's in Aries, he does struggle to carry out or to give his virtues, which are patience, which are upholding the rules, trying to do what's right. Saturn also as well tries to do what's right, even though he does it in quite a harsh way. Also as well, what it can also affect the moral compass when Saturn is debilitated, yeah, because he deals with what, pardon me, rules, regulations, restrictions, etc. So now this reflects also on this Jupiter, because it means that as I established, Venus is the dispositor of Jupiter, yeah, making this Jupiter a lot more materialistic than it normally would be. And then we look at Venus, and who's the dispositor for Venus and for Mercury, because they're what? They're both in the signs of Capricorn, which belong to who? Saturn. Where is Saturn? Saturn is in the 12th house of losses, yeah, losses, secrets and scandals and all that kind of stuff, debilitated in Aries, yeah. So ultimately the backer of Uranus and Jupiter, which is in Mitch McConnell's first house, is ultimately debilitated. However, it is with Mars, which is strong in this sign, which does make it a bit stronger, but it's still the 12th house. So that's scheming, back deals, yeah? I mean, honestly, if this is probably one of the most strongest hallmarks that you can have for back dealing douchebaggery, basically. Really, honestly, it is. It's one of the biggest things that you can have there. And when we look here at Ketu being in PURVA BHADRAPADHA, you know, which is, you know, learning through loss, you know, essentially, it's there with the kingdom, with the sun. So it shows that this sun is undermined in some kind of way. There's this dissatisfaction that the American public have, or quite a bit of the American public, although there's a lot of them that still support a lot of this stuff going on, but with what? The kingdom that is building. So let's look at the second half of life so I don't go on too long. So if we look here, his ascendant moves to Aries, and we see quite a similar combination again. He has got Ketu in the first house, which means he doesn't care about his looks at all. Not that that means anything, but it just helps explain a few things, yeah? It's just all gone to seed, yeah? So because that's what Ketu does. He just kind of breaks things down often. And we also see it's there with Venus. Now, what is Venus? Venus represents women, yeah? And Venus represents what? Luxuries. Venus represents the good life, yeah? Now, isn't this interesting? Because if we look here, and she's in the sign of Aries, which is what? War, conflict. So this can show a person that is kind of a bit bent on conflict in relationships of all kinds, yeah, because Venus is also the planet of relationships. It can also show as well, if we look opposite in the 7th house, and the 7th house is our partnerships. It's in Libra for him. He follows the natural zodiac in his D9 chart. And what do we see there? Pluto, planet of power, with Rahu, who's malefic. This is a highly malefic combination. This is very, very manipulative. So manipulative, this combination here. On one level, if this person was working in the light, you know, that would be like huge kind of like deals, you know, global deals, massive deals. And in a way, this is massive deals, but it has a malefic nature because you've got Pluto there. And you've got Rahu. Rahu actually does do well in Libra, but Rahu, my nickname for him is Gobble Gobble. So he just can't help but just keep doing these malefic deals. Do you see? He didn't do the stimulus package straight up. He could have just voted on it, yeah, because this is as well as what Libra is what voting, democracy. Venus is peace, democracy, yeah, voting and that kind of stuff. He could have just put what a clean vote up on, shall we give them the 2000? But no, 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 Mitch McConnell, man, because he's got Pluto in there and he's got Rahu, which is also known for causing illusions and confusions. He has to turn it into, everything has to become a power play. And why? Because Venus, who is the dispositor or the lord of the second house of money and the seventh house of relationships, but also litigation, is in her enemy sign, which is in the sign of Mars, which is conflict and war, and it's there with Ketu, which further reduces Venus's ability to give benefic results. You know, you can't make this stuff up. And if we look here, if we look at his, ninth house, we see 3 malefics in the 9th house, like with Ivanka. Remember that one? But this time we've got Sun, Mars, and Saturn. Now, 2 of these planets, Sun and Mars, actually like being here. It's in the sign of Sagittarius, and they're friends with what? Jupiter. And Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces. So again, what is the sun? The sun is government. Yeah, sun is government. What is the 9th house? The 9th house deals with politics, government politics. But here we see 2 malefics. These 2 are completing Saturn and Mars. Now, Mars is the accelerator, Saturn is the brakes. Yeah, Saturn is the brakes. So there's this push-pull, there's this conservatism. Yeah, Saturn is also conservatism. And so, you know, there's that factor here. But who is the dispositor of these 2 planets? It is Jupiter. Where is Jupiter? Jupiter is in what? Gemini, which is considered an enemy sign. But if we look here, it's exactly conjunct Mercury, planet of communication, who deals with groups and stuff. So when we look here, when I read this, this is an extremely skilled manipulator, because it's in that nakshatra called Ardra. And the shadow of Ardra is things like that, manipulation and all that kind of stuff. The positive side is truth. My moon is in Ardra, so, you know, I like to think I'm a truthful person. So here we are, an extremely skilled manipulator. Mercury dominates via Ardra. This reduces Jupiter's altruistic side and makes Jupiter more scheming and cynical. So we already see in the main chart it's already compromised, but it's compromised too in the D9. However, it's great for back deals and horse trading of all kinds, and being the leader of a social group. There we are. He's the leader of the Senate for Republicans. There you go. So these planets are dispositing to that planet, you know, to that planet there, you know, which is Jupiter, which is conjunct Mercury. So these are these planets in the government, fickle, mercurial, yeah. And then when we look here, Saturn is casting one of its trines to Mitch McConnell's 11th house. The 11th house deals with what? The public, the people, yeah. And then we see here, because it's in the sign of Aquarius, this also deals with distribution systems and money systems as well. Like I said, it's the Amazon. It's the Amazon of the zodiac. And what do we see here? Neptune with Uranus. Manipulation. This is not being. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Neptune here with Uranus, yeah. Neptune with Uranus in the 11th house, in the sign of Aquarius, which deals with what? The proletariat, the ordinary people. But the shadow as well of Aquarius, funnily enough, is also elitism. So you see these energies are being mixed. On one level, there's elitism going on, as we can see, but on another level, it's affecting the masses. Because again, if we look here, in Mitch McConnell's chart, we see Neptune again. So this Neptune is returning essentially to itself. Also as well, let me just look and see where it is. Yeah, so look, if we look here, we've got Neptune. This is on the day of the inauguration, which is the 20th of January. The Neptune will be at 24 degrees 47 minutes, yeah? Of PURVA BHADRAPADHA. Again, teaching people what? Via death. If we go here, so remember that, 24 degrees 47. Mitch McConnell's Neptune is at 25 degrees 34 minutes. That is an exact conjunction. His Neptune falls right on that. So what does that show? He's bringing what? His difficulties, holding things up. He's kind of manipulating that deal. And that's why the Democrats have called it the poison pill, because he's saying, well, if you really want to help the American people, you're going to have to do this dodgy thing that I want, yeah? And what Duck Larange has said as well about social media, like that matters. But Uranus deals with what? Electronic things as well. Aquarius is also what? Social media as well. They're both, Aquarius is a sign of technology, the future. So do you see? It's literally playing out. He doesn't want to sign that deal unless there is something adjusted in regards to social media, which is what Trump wanted. And where does Uranus fall in Donald Trump's chart? Let's just go here. It falls into the 10th house of his career. Yeah, isn't it interesting? The planet that can also represent all things electronic, and it deals with things in the future advanced. That means it also not only has associations with astrology, but it also covers things like, because it's the co-ruler of Aquarius, and Aquarius is things like social media, internet. Isn't it interesting that Donald Trump should take such a bugbear about that and then pressure or scheme with Mitch McConnell to scupper, the deal for the American people? And we can see it here in his D9, literally. So as his Neptune is coming exact onto the Neptune, transiting Neptune in the USA chart, which is in a very difficult place for America at the moment, which is because it's square the nodes of the moon. And like I said, the Kala Sarpa Yoga starts on the 1st of January, and this, this guy is just holding everything up. It is just extraordinary. So I hope that helps everyone understand essentially what is going on there. And what else have I put here? What else have I put? So if I look here, so Neptune, Uranus in the 11th house in Aquarius can show deception of the elites, yeah. Or deception, or the elites causing some kind of deception. Yeah, so Neptune indicates betrayal and illusions put on ordinary people, while technocrats and people that earn money via electronic means, like Jeff Bezos, right, I'm not going to slate Jeff Bezos, but I'm just saying he is very indicative of that ilk, in a sense, because in corporate America, they pay very little tax, as we know, very little tax. Are benefited by paying less tax. So Aquarius is also the sign of detachment in the shadow form. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Aquarius can be very detached. Detachment in the shadow form. At this time of writing, McConnell said no to the increased stimulus package, which would have brought great gains to ordinary people, Aquarius. So, of course, I mean, I wrote this stuff last night, and now we've seen that he's technically agreed to it, but, he's attached these things. But really, it's a no. Really, that's what it is. He's like, don't care about your suffering. I don't care that you're about to be put out on the street in the middle of a pandemic. Just as we have the vicious grip of winter about to come upon the masses, because of course Saturn, planet of restriction, planet of lockdown, but also winter is his season. Imagine being homeless at this time with these temperatures. What's going to happen? You're going to die. You would die. And so it is extraordinary how we see this playing out and how this Pluto is moving, because like I said in the inauguration, but on the 1st of January, Pluto moves to the second house of the USA chart, which is about, like I said, repeating myself, but money, food, values. Yeah, what is it that people need? They need money, they need food, they need medicine. I mean, this is just extraordinary. So we see how this is karmically playing out, but this guy is very manipulative. There's something as well, the wife will be, I don't know, but there'll be something very compulsive and probably quite strange about her, although compelling, something powerful, if he does have a wife or a spouse or partner, whatnot. But either way, there's something dodgy there with relationships. So let's try and end this on an up note. Yeah, we have to see the highest good. Again, it's the highest good. The Democrats, we can see, are trying to do the right things, and some Republicans are going with them. So that is progress. Mitch McConnell man and Trump and all that stuff, they can do their schemings and their machinations and everything that they want to do, but Biden will become president, you know. But he's not president until the strike of 12, like I said, on the 20th of January. So there's still more in the pipeline. What I find extraordinary as well is that, you know, the Republican Party, they're kind of imploding in a way. I mean, Trump, I think, is suing Mike Pence. So in order to try and overturn the results of the election, which has been ratified. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. Honestly, the last time I think Americans saw something in this much of a jam was probably the Boston Pickle Festival in 2019. I mean, it's just a pressure cooker. We'll have to see how it's going to go. Like I said, more to come, as we have seen, and I think it will just continue to get more and more Looney Tunes as we go along, unfortunately, and things will get worse before they get better, but they will get better. Things need to happen around the virus and stuff like that, so focus on the improvements. You know, Republicans are starting to acknowledge now that yes, that, you know, Biden won the election is obvious, so focus on that highest good for everyone. Forgive people, tell them you love them, and just help whoever you can. It could be a phone call, it could be a nice message, because with the stuff that he's doing, with the manipulations that he's doing, because, you know, his D9 Neptune is basically conjunct transiting Neptune right now. It's people need to elevate themselves and their thoughts and pray for the highest good and pray for everyone on earth that the most positive outcomes happen, and particularly for everyone in America. So I know I've probably gone over half an hour again. Oh well, I did my best, but just to give you little updates, I'm completely booked out for January. And it's looking like, but there are some spaces in February. If you'd like to have a consultation with me, go to the archetypalblueprint.com. Thanks so much for all of your comments. So intelligent and very kind of well informed. This is such an education for me as well. And also as well, thank you, because I'm now over 5,000 subscribers. Wonderful, thank you so much. I would love to do those kind of like special offer things and stuff that everyone does, but it takes so much time, unfortunately, to put these things together. I mean, I forgot to actually show here as well. I've also got this version of Mitch McConnell's chart. So again, just showing, if we look here again, this is that manipulation factor here. Yeah, see that? That manipulation factor, which is Uranus with Neptune in Aquarius of the masses. But all of this stuff, these charts, doing all this stuff, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time and effort to write things up and think about things. So I'd love to do something like that. Maybe I can do something in the future, but I would have to think of something that's quite easy. But anyway, thanks so much for that. So again, focus again on the highest good. I know this is challenging at this time. And I know that is difficult. Oh, also as well, but by the way, if anyone does want to book, please just use PayPal for now, because again, you know, Wix.com, they actually owe me quite a bit of money actually, but there's something not quite right with the credit card payments. But they are based in California, and California is having the hugest surge right now. So I'm just trying to be patient, and we'll see. But if it says that you can't book, that's not quite correct. Just close that gray box, and then you should be able to kind of book dates. But again, I'm going to try to make sure that I'm not working too hard, so I'm going to try and insert breaks as well so I can get a bit of rest. Anyway, enough of that. So the high is good, but I hope that gave insight into why Turtleface, you know, Mitch McConnell is the way he is. And I know that's a bit unpolite to say that, but really, I mean, look at what he's doing. That $2,000 could have just been voted through like that. It was already approved. It already passed the House, and he chose to add this malefic quality to it. So I don't think a person like that really deserves much respect, to be honest. And I think the Republicans really need to look at themselves now, or, you know, as a party, what are they saying as they go forward? Because this is just cruel. It's just cruel. But at least some of them are moving. So that is an improvement. So I want to try and finish on, ultimately again, finish on the upper. Pray for the highest good. Yes, help everyone that you can within reason. And let's see what happens once Biden is sworn in, assuming all goes well. So anyway, I will leave it there. Thank you so much, and I hope you've enjoyed this, and leave some comments of who you might want me to do next. I've had suggestions of Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein is another one, but put in the comments below and I'll have a look and see who I'll do next. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.